FM News Talk 97.1.
On-demand audio.
Fox News Channel's Catherine Herridge is joining us with more on this investigation. Catherine, how are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So now the FBI, we've learned, is releasing some documents to Congress. Are these documents we're going to get a look at some point?
I think that's highly unlikely. The FBI said in its letter to the House Government Oversight Committee and then also the House and Senate Intelligence Committees that these documents cannot be made public in any form without prior FBI consent. And just to give your listeners some context, some of these documents are heavily redacted at the request of the CIA because the emails discussed intelligence assets, human assets, as well as these special access programs, which are the most highly guarded programs within the U.S. government. And the chairman of the House Government Oversight Committee, Jason Chaffetz, told me that he doesn't even have a high enough security clearance to read the notes from the Clinton interview unredacted, so to read them in their entirety. And this completely conflicts with this idea from the Democrats and the Clinton campaign that there's really nothing to see here and that the information was not sensitive.
Well, maybe you can help me understand. Jason Chaffetz, very memorably in that hearing with James Comey, asked whether or not he seemed surprised that he had to request an investigation into perjury, and then he said, you'll have that in a couple of hours. Instead, it seems like it took a month or so, and the request was actually made to the U.S. Attorney in Washington, D.C. Why that route?
Well, they have to make a formal request to the FBI to investigate perjury, and they also have to make a formal request to the U.S. Attorney here in Washington, so that's a branch of the Justice Department, that they want these perjury allegations investigated. In this case, what they want to know is whether Mrs. Clinton's testimony in 2015 about Benghazi, where she took several questions about her emails, was deliberately misleading, and that it conflicts with what the FBI found and perhaps what she even told the FBI. There are four main points. The two that seem to be the strongest is that she told Congress that every one of the 60,000 emails was read top to bottom by her team to determine what was work-related and what was personal. But the FBI director said that, in fact, they just used search terms and header information, and that thousands of work-related emails were never turned over to the State Department. The other is that she said adamantly that there was only one server, but the FBI investigation found that there were multiple servers and administrators that over the course of 4 years had access to the emails, some of which are at the highest top secret level.
So this was delivered to Channing Phillips.
That's correct.
The U.S. Attorney appointed by President Obama, I'm assuming.
I don't want to give your listeners bad information. I don't know who is responsible for that appointment.
Okay, yeah, I wondered. So we don't know anything. So in other words, we don't know if politics are at play here or not, but what are the odds that this moves between now and November?
Well, I spoke with quite a reliable contact today who said to me that the view within the Bureau, and this is such a tough story to get at, I'm sure you can appreciate that,
sure.
and your listeners as well, but that the email investigation, this has really been put to bed. This is done. I mean, it's really finished. The Clinton Foundation seems to be lingering in some capacities. It's not clear to me what that is, but there's not a lot of urgency because there's no support for this at the Justice Department. And then there's the third piece of this, which is the perjury case, these allegations that she misled Congress. This, my contact said, seemed to have the most juice because Congress was affected. However, you would have to be able to show, you really would have to get into the mind of the individual to show that they deliberately and knowingly misled Congress, and they were never able to show in the emails that she intentionally moved these records outside secure government channels. So I don't want to sound, lack of a better term, sort of Debbie Downer here.
Sure.
I just am not sure. That seems like a pretty high threshold, too. But, again, we don't know what's in the FBI notes and what they said during their interviews. And a former assistant FBI director said that really a case like this, because it's closed and they have the notes from the interviews and then they have the congressional testimony, which was only, maybe 3 or 4 minutes long. I mean, this is something that really could be dispensed with in a matter of weeks as opposed to months.
Very good point. Catherine Herridge, we will look for your reports on the Fox News Channel. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Always well worth having Catherine on here.